Welcome back, listeners. This is WVGS 91.9 The Buzz, and you are listening to Manhood Mindset, formerly known as the Power of Perception. Why do we change it up?
Man, because guess what, man? The mindset of men in our society, we need to address the issues, bro. It's so much stuff going around that people are not talking about, and this is the bruh's chance to go ahead and take that initiative for the community, man. This is what we do. So this 91.9 The Buzz, man. You listening to the Zany Zoo, man. This is Zany Zoo Radio, by the way.
The Zany Zoo Radio.
Exactly.
We're taking over the game, and we're not only are we taking over the game, but we're lifting people up as we go. Like you said, it's the Zeta Delta chapter. I'm Dale from Riverdale.
I'm Big Chris from Ellenwood, Georgia.
And we're just trying to help some people, mentor some people, and just touch some lives and hopefully save one.
Exactly. And if you're listening to this show right now, the goal of our show is to make sure we talk about issues that help the mindset of all the people that's going through trials and tribulations on a daily basis. We're going to have some fun. We're going to do it through laughter. We're going to do it through history. We're going to do it through just motivation, honestly, man. So we're going to have real talk for a couple of hours. We're going to have some good feedback from a lot of the students that we've already been talking to. Just make sure that you email your concerns or your questions. If you got anything that you want us to talk about, make sure you email ZetaDelta@gmail.com. That's the bruh's Gmail account here at the zoo at Georgia Southern University. ZetaDelta@gmail.com. Don't be shy, man. We'll keep it anonymous if you want to, or we'll shout you out if you about that life.
Yeah, if you ask for it, we will.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So we're here for the people, man. We also giving ourselves a service as well, man, because honestly we go through things too. So this is therapy for me. You know what
therapy for me as well.
Most definitely, man. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. We got a really good show for y'all, man. We're going to go to another break. Dale from Riverdale.
Yeah.
Shall you take him to the good music?
All right. We're going to start off with the ATLians by the also legendary Outkast.
You will respect Outkast in my house.
Yes, you shall.
I'm sorry.
On 91.9 The Buzz. All right. Welcome back to Manhood Mindset on 91.9 The Buzz. Once again, I'm Dale from Riverdale.
This is Big Chris from Ellenwood, Georgia. And I like to just go ahead and just get this out of the way. If you don't like Outkast, something is wrong.
Something is thoroughly wrong.
Hey, man, Outkast is one of the best groups on the face of the planet, man. Shout out to everybody who's going to the One Music Fest in Atlanta this next upcoming weekend, which is like 2 or 3 days. Well, no, it's this Saturday, actually. Yeah, man. So shout out to everybody going out there seeing the Dungeon Family and all those other great artists, Erykah Badu, Ice Cube, whole bunch of different people, man. So shout out to everybody going up there to support them, man. So Dale from Riverdale, what do we have for the people this evening?
The first thing we're going to talk about is the media and the things that we see on the media and how it affects your mindset.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
There's some things that you can see in the media that's detrimental.
Okay. Well, I'll put like this, man. I like to just start off and talk about a couple of things that I've seen in the media lately. Of course, one of the biggest things that have affected me is a lot of the things that we've seen especially over the summer, but really over the last 2 or 3 years in this country about a lot of people losing their lives when dealing with law enforcement. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it's a lot of things that a lot of people have seen on the news, and it's a lot of things that we've seen on social media that kind of make people really, really uncomfortable and not knowing what to expect in certain situations. I know a lot of times that when we see the news, we do see a specific perception that is led to be believed at that time. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because if you don't own that camera, you don't own that angle, you don't own that timing, you are subjected to how things look instead of how things are from time to time. And whoever writes that story, the power of the pen is a beast, man. The power of the pen is a beast. Yeah, it's how you frame it. And so one of the biggest things that really hit home for me was Philando Castile. I think he was in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, and Alton Sterling and Baton Rouge. That was when I saw the height of the frustration. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it came to black males and their interaction with some of the law enforcement in this country, man. So I know a lot of people looked at it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I was so disturbed it wasn't even funny. But one thing I did realize is that we are really in a deep spiritual warfare right now, and you can't really ignore it to the point now you have to tell people what you're feeling, and we have to have a honest dialogue, because honestly, I'm looking at a lot of things right now. A lot of people don't want to talk about it because it's that uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But one thing that I do respect, I don't enjoy, but I respect the effects of trauma. When you look at, you know how some people look at a scary movie and you get the shakes for a couple of days? You know what I mean? If you see a couple of scenes of a scary movie and all of a sudden when you see that, it reminds you of a horrible time and you shiver and you don't go that place anymore. What a lot of people don't understand, man, the stuff that we're seeing, that's like live reality scary movies. And you know what I mean? And people are looking at it over and over again. And I'm going to be real with you. Facebook, some of the stuff that we're seeing live that's happening to human beings, that's not edited. Children are watching that stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You feel me?
I feel it put me in a very uncomfortable situation.
What did your mind go through when you started seeing that stuff?
Really, what really bothered me was the fact that I got to go and tell him, I have a son, he's 5 months old.
Right.
And what bothers me, and I enjoy being a father, but what really started to bug me is like, I got to explain to him, Daddy, why is it that babies that look like me, who grow up into children who look like me, why are we getting slaughtered? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is it? And the thing is that what really breaks my heart is I got to tell my son, hey, you're handicapped before you start. You have to work twice as hard, or you have to be on your guard because, hey, look, they're looking for any reason to shoot a young African American man.
Right.
Like that. And it's just like, what bothers me is like, how do I explain that? Mm-hmm. It's simple for us, but it's like, imagine what that does to a child. Well, they're killing us, son. But what do we do?
This is the thing, too. I know when we start dealing with these types of conversations, there are so many distractions that lace the conversation. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And one thing I find out is in the heat of the moment, a lot of people make generalized statements, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be real with you. Anytime when you're dealing with something so heated and so abrupt, general statements flow from human beings. That's what I've observed my entire life. What
I was reading last night, is a psychology book. Mm-hmm. It's called Argument by Anecdote. It's an oversimplification. Okay. Meaning that if there's one outcome that happened to, like, for example, let's say one parolee breaks his parole, so it now justifies that no prisoner deserves parole. Right. And that's based. Is that what you're referring to?
Right. Right. It's just overgeneralizations of everyone. See, and one thing about generalizations, they include people who are not a part of the equation, but you can't keep that impact from affecting everybody. You know what I mean?
I understand.
So it is confusing, some of the things that we feel and some of the things that are actually in existence. We want to make sure that they flow and complement each other. You know what I'm saying? So say, for instance, I know for a fact that we've had it rough when it comes to the black community and law enforcement, right? Mm-hmm. But the false statement is that all police officers are bad.
Yeah,
that is false. A false statement, because I have family members that are police officers, I have good friends that are police officers, and I've seen police officers go above and beyond and actually protect and serve. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
And so, and what happens is when people say, hey, law enforcement, we're fighting against police brutality, or we're fighting against, police officers treating us a certain way. Some people get offended at that and say, hey, well, police are out here to protect and serve. People know that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think what happens is when people say, hey, we've been served an injustice, or we've been ridiculed, or we've been basically abused. And when we say a generalized statement right now, all we can see is that badge. The only thing we can see is people being protected by their actions. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people have gotten away clean for clearly breaking constitutions, the American Constitution, and breaking the law. And we've seen it. That's why people are upset. So it can be confusing when people say all, but at the end of the day, when you're looking at people who are dressed as police officers actually breaking the law, murdering people, and have no repercussions of it, people are going to start wondering, okay, how much power do I actually have on this planet? How much is my life actually worth? And honestly, I'm going to be real with you, man. After a while, you keep saying that stuff, you're wondering if you should try at this thing called life, if you're not careful. You know what I mean? Because if you can see that your life is expendable on a daily basis, it's hard to have a 5 or 10 year plan when it's been proven that if something goes down and somebody just says you were wrong or just accuse you of something, it can just be swept away and nothing be done about it.
Yeah, where's the checks and balances?
Right. And so, system. Yeah, and so, I mean, we're prepared for people to be uncomfortable about what we talked about, man, but the discomfort in the minds of the people who have to see people like them slaughtered on a daily basis is detrimental. And one thing about mental scars, you really can't see if they healed or not. And, people do the best that they can. People get up every day, put their pants on, iron their shirt, brush their teeth, and go out there and try to make the best of themselves. But that thought in the back of your mind that, man, this could be me today.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? So, and then, now I had a really interesting conversation with a community leader not too long ago. And we're talking about how can we have a truthful conversation with kids without ruining their childhood. Right?
No, that's what I'm sitting here trying to figure out. Right.
Now, check this out. I posed a question. I said, well, let's look at Tamir Rice. Tamir Rice was a young man, right?
Mm-hmm.
His childhood was ruined without that talk. You know what I mean? And so sometimes we can sit and try to, hold kids from the brutal honesty of what the world actually holds for them without trying to make them have a pessimistic point of view. However, I think, man, our kids in our community, kids ain't stupid. And I think we're going to have to really start honoring the mindset of the children, man. Just because you're young don't mean you're just so naive to everything. And what a lot of people don't understand, a lot of kids have a rough life and they've had more experiences than a lot of grown people walking around here.
What?
You feel me? And, so just because you're young don't mean you had it good. And, and I'm not going to lie to you, man. There are a lot of children out there who live adult lives right now. You got 8, 9, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds taking care of the home, cleaning, cooking, making sure people are safe, and
their younger siblings dressed for school.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so you got a lot of young people who already know the game, man. That right now they're just kind of looking for people to keep it real, man. You know what I'm saying? Just actually talk to me, man. Because have you ever had a situation where you were young and a lot of people thought they were trying to protect you, but you kind of lost respect for them because they just wasn't being honest with you?
I do.
Tell me about it.
A lot of people don't know this about me. I went to a private school up into the fact that I was in the 6th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a teacher every day when I would just, I don't know why, one of the other teachers gave me a hard time. And I went to the other teacher because I was more comfortable with her. Both of them were Caucasian women.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it's something about Mrs. I'm just going to say, not to say her name, Mrs. D. She just doesn't like me no matter how well I behave in the class or whatever. She just looks at me with disgust. Like, why am I here?
Mm-hmm.
And she kept on saying, oh, no, honey, it's just something that's just different. And I'm like, well, every time that I'm in the class, when I see her and when I'm in my other classes, she doesn't look like that. She doesn't seem irritated or frustrated. Or when other students ask for help, she seems overjoyed to help them. But when I say something, it's like, well, I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Right.
I really wish I did. You know what I'm saying? And she was just like, well, she just gets frustrated because you think differently than the other students in the class. I said, what do you mean that I think differently in the class?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the things that you don't understand, the rest of the class understands, and that's frustrating to a teacher sometime because it's like when the rest of the class doesn't understand, you do. And I'm like, but when I understand, I don't say nothing. So how is it a problem how is it offensive that the only time I say something is when I don't understand?
Right.
And she pretty much avoided the whole fact of why is she treating me this way,
right,
and sat there and justified it.
Right.
And when my parents came and told me, they're just like, she's a white woman.
Mm-hmm.
You're at a private school. They really don't want you there. We found out the other day, your tuition is higher than everyone else's.
Wow. Really?
Mm-hmm. Your tuition is higher than everyone else's.
Mm-hmm.
And I respected my parents because they were just like, my parents never gave me protected answer.
Right.
My parents was like, my dad from day one, he was like, you know, God rest his soul, he was like, I'm Santa Claus. You gonna have to impress me all year.
Exactly.
So, you know, he just told me straight up, he was like, you're not like them. And I said, why? I said, what is it? You know what my dad did? My dad sat me in front of a, what movie was it? He sat me down in front of it was some kind of old school movie, and it showed where the bathrooms were different, the eating establishments, and he was like, son, things have gotten, you see how much things have gotten better? Right. And I was like, yeah, Dad, I do see that. Right. He was like, it comes from progress. He was like, so it's not always gonna be this bad, and it hasn't always been this good. Right. So you still, and he was like, you know, there's doctors, lawyers, all kind of stuff. He was like, you can still get through this, but it's some stuff you just have to deal with because of who you are. Right. And I was like, man, that's messed up. But then he was like, but look at me. Right. Look how good we living. Right. So don't let it deter you. So that's, and now that I thought about it, my dad from the past, me thinking about it in my childhood, he really just told me how to deal with
just straight up. You know what I'm saying? Because he, like, this is the thing. It's a difference between equipping a young person to protect themselves, and it's another thing to allow them to think that there's no hope. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think honestly, just achieving that balance between pessimism and reality. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's just how it is.
Yeah, and you know, and honestly too, you know, when people try to be honest with young people and with each other, matter of fact, because honestly, grown people have done a really good job of lying to each other about what's going on. You know what I mean? Because right now we could just go every day and be like, no, it ain't that bad, man. We really come a long way. And, you know, we got a lot of rights and we got more than what they had in the 60s. And you look at that person, you got to tilt your head a little bit and blink slow. And, you know, you got to be like, really? You know what I mean? Yeah. And so this is what a lot of people don't understand. Progress does not mean that you've achieved. that's what people don't go. People don't get. Progress is progress. Achievement is achievement.
Indeed.
And you know, and one thing you got to do, you have to respect both. I respect progress. I don't disrespect progress. Actually, I'm very thankful for how long we have come as a nation of people. Because, I mean, being real with you, we can't just honestly just sit here and say there has been no progress. However, we can't ignore the fact that things are happening because of the color of your skin in one of the most powerful countries that we've been told, at least one of the most powerful and richest countries in the world. I mean, in the world. But you constantly get reminders that, yeah, you've progressed, but that achievement is farther than you think.
Well, I explain it a different way.
Right.
This is how I explain it. There's progress, but there's always progress towards a goal.
Right.
The goal is for us to actually be equal to our counterparts.
Right. Right.
What we're dealing with right now and what we've experienced as far as when we relate it back to what we used to go through, that's the progress. But the goal has not been completed yet because we can still feel,
you're right,
even in underlying things that we can't necessarily prove, that we're still not there.
Right. And you know what I found out too, man? That word equality, that word has to be looked at very carefully. And the more and more I just look at how things are and equality, what are we really looking to be equal to? You know what I mean? And can honestly, because we march and we protest, and you know, I post a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? I try to share a lot of things. Personally and on social media and through email and whoever I can talk to, you know what I mean?
Indeed.
Just to think about certain things. But when we are looking for equality, who are we trying to be equal to? And is equal good enough? That's what I want to think about.
Wow.
And you see what I'm saying? Because sometimes equality physically, a step up politically can be a step down spiritually. If you're not careful, you know what I mean? And so that's the thing. See, we're because it's power in words. You know what I'm saying? I think definitions give words power. words have power, but they only have power because they are defined.
Okay.
Or the way they're defined. So what happens is we find ourselves, and I find myself too, either looking at words or using words, and either I know I'm clearly defining it for me, but over there it could be totally defined different. I had a really good conversation with a friend of mine. He's very, very politically aware and involved, right? Mm-hmm. And we looked at the word integration. Integration, right? Mm-hmm. Now you heard that word thrown all over the place, correct?
Yes.
I know I have, right? Have you ever heard a concrete definition of integration?
No.
That you can remember? Honestly?
Not really, no.
And I've Googled it several times, and I'm pretty sure I've seen that definition change. And we can look up the definition now. However, this is one thing I realize. Sometimes when everybody's using a word, and we can look for justice, we can look for love, we can look for equality, we can look for integration, we can look for fairness. All of those different words have an emotion tied to it, but a lot of them are not clearly defined on both sides. The people that's looking for it and the people that's in charge of giving it. You see what I'm saying? So if somebody's looking for equality and asking for equality, the people that are expected to give that equality, how do they define the word? And see, one thing for me, I know we have a lot of arguments. I talk to it, not arguments, but really, a lot of really deep discussions about integration. Did it help? Did it hurt? And honestly, I think everybody's right, because I asked when we were marching for integration, I think we had a definition and someone else had a definition. You got a definition in front of you?
See, I went and looked for the definition of integration.
Right.
And integration took me to, I'm gonna walk y'all through it just the way I found it.
That's right.
Integration, the action or process of integrating. So I look, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is what we mark. This is what we fighting for now,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Then it goes from the definition of integrating, indicating the mean value or total sum of the measured quantity. So that means the average of the actual value. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
To integrate.
Okay. It's totally okay.
The verb of it is to combine one thing with another so that they become a whole.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you how that's interesting, right?
Because they don't have to be equal.
They don't have to be equal. But guess what?
What's that?
They have to come together as one.
They do have to come together as one.
So when you integrate, you're no longer, by definition, this is my interpretation.
Interpretation. Trust me, I understand.
I'm from Riverdale. It's hard sometimes.
That ain't funny, but it is.
Okay. Now, the strongest definition, it says to combine one thing or group, I guess we can apply it to a group, with another so that they become a whole. Mm-hmm. All right. If you combine African American people, this is what we're called here, Caucasian people, whatever, and you bring them, you integrate them into a whole, then they become just people.
Okay.
But our society, even though we live in an integrated society, as in different races or whatever, we're not one people. Right. Rarely are we ever just called Americans.
Right. And see, that's the thing. See, integration and equality, fairness, and justice. What happens is when you use a word, usually all individuals attach a specific emotion to every single word. Mm-hmm. So I can think about integration. I'm thinking about equality. I'm thinking about fairness. I'm thinking about justice. However, if I'm in charge of giving you equality and justice, I can define integration a whole nother way. I could just say, hey, you allowed in my neighborhood, but you ain't allowed in my house. You know what I mean? And honestly, being real with you, let's look at the word integrate, right?
But hold on, before we get that deep in, I really just want to touch on this second definition, because I feel like it's gonna open up a whole nother Pandora's box.
What's up?
Second definition: bring people or groups with particular characteristics or needs into equal participation in or membership of a social group or institution. Equal. So that means that once you bring them into that group, they're supposed to be able to function the same and have the same interactions within that social group, or the institution, meaning that once they become integrated,
right, they're supposed
there
to have
should not be it shouldn't be any differences.
It should
anymore.
be an even player field right now, right?
Yes.
Now check this out.
Yeah.
Can't you see the difference between definitions from people who are looking forward to integration and the ones in charge of seeing if people can integrate or not?
I'm not so sure.
Check this out. If you're asking me to let you integrate into my neighborhood, into my home, I call the shots. See, in your mind, you can come to me and be like, Chris, I need to move in, but I need to be on the lease. I can be like, look, I can let you in the house, but you'll never be on the lease. See, in my mind, I'm the one in power. I can tell you, I've integrated, right? You in the house with me. But you are never allowed to own anything. See, now, it's one thing about physical integration. See, this is the thing. I think integration when it comes to treatment and power was expected on the people who were asking for it. The people who were in charge of giving it was thinking about physical space.
Wow.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
I get what
so
you're saying,
when it gets down to using specific words when we're asking for certain things, they have to be critically examined and then critically defined. If we're going to really do it, because honestly,
so there's no loopholes.
Exactly. It's always going to be a loophole because human beings, we have emotions. It's not a negative thing to have emotions, but we tie everything that we do, see, think, and hear to how we feel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're animated objects on this planet. You know what I'm saying? I know how people like, you're human, you're animal. Basically, animals is a being that reacts to its environment. Human beings react to their environment all the time. You see what I'm saying? So if we're thinking about this definition, I can have an expectation when I'm using a word. The people who I'm asking to meet that expectation can define that whole word differently. They can sign something and say, yeah, you're integrated. I'm going to move out of my old school. You can have that old school. And oh, by the way, you don't have the resources. And oh, by the way, I'm going to plummet the housing market in that area. And also the property value, we're going to crush it. But you're integrated. Have a good one. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, and by the way, we're moving to this neighborhood.
Right, and you can't come here.
You can't come.
You see what I'm saying?
Do all y'all have good jobs to be able to afford it?
Right.
Great. Okay, it's going to be a cost increase.
Right.
So we can have that invisible gate up.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people need to understand this. Please look up the term redlining. Please look up the term redlining.
Redlining, the property value.
Oh my gosh, man. And see, that's what a lot of people don't understand.
I saw the video you posted.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's some of the stuff I'm really interested in. That's what a lot of people don't understand. If you do not understand the words that you're using, you can get confused. Confusion causes stress. Stress causes death. No lie.
And depression.
And depression. So all of that stuff affects your mind and how you think. All right? And be honest with you, integration is people are part of one thing, right? We were looking for integrated power. And honestly, integrated rights, integrated power, integrated resources. What a lot of people don't realize, and what I've seen, and I could be totally wrong, I don't know everything, but what I'm seeing is you can have my old stuff. You know what I mean? Or, yeah, you can come here, but it's only a certain amount so we can meet our quota.
You're a token.
You know, it could be. You know what I mean? You really just never can tell about these things. So anytime when we're out here, when it comes down to your mindset, ladies and gentlemen, we really got to be careful of how we think about things and the definitions that we attach to these words. I mean, we just looked up integration, and a lot of y'all probably have never, ever looked up the definition, never even heard of the definition. I mean, I know for a fact I don't look at that definition every day, but when you hear integration, you can go into a whole room of people and ask everybody to define integration. You'll get several different definitions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And with either word. And honestly, you can go in there and say, define love. If you really want to have a doozy, ask people to define love. People apply meaning to that word that you'd be surprised what people apply to that word. You know what I mean? So, but ladies and gentlemen, make sure you understand that. That's one of our first topics, having the mindset to be real about what's going on in today's society. The things that you see, the images that you see, the noises that you hear, the music that you listen to, the books that you read, the newspaper articles, things that are put in front of your face over and over and over again, regardless of how good you practice of not letting things affect you. You're really good at not responding externally. Let's just be honest about that. There's a lot of people who are really good about not responding externally to trauma. But your brain, your heart, your nerves, and your organs, they are shutting down. Y'all ever seen a person that you would think that's cool, calm, and collected? Next thing you know, they either pass out, or they got an ulcer, or they have a stroke, or they have a whole bunch of different things going on.
Or they snap.
Or they snap. Exactly. Or they nut up.
You'd be like, what?
He was so cool. That's the first thing when people say. He was so
he was
cool.
He spoke to everybody every day. And then
she was so soft spoken. That's what people say. Like you have to go around and yelling before you snap.
She killed her husband. She really did. Oh wow.
Wow, she was so nice. She baked cookies for us.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Or she was my Sunday school teacher. Or she was, that's what people. Yeah, you know, because people naturally start applying the things that you're good at hiding. She was so sweet. He was so kind. She would never. He always was all cool. You know what I'm saying?
He's funny. He made everybody laugh.
Exactly. Or he was a really good sports guy. He was real quiet, just lifted his weights and went home and did his homework.
He didn't bother nobody.
And then all of a sudden, somebody at the Chevron tried him, and we'll never see him again. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's, I'm not trying to be funny, but that's true. That's how deep it can go. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we talking about manhood mindset, especially when it comes to men, and this is a generalization, so you don't have to agree with it. And I have seen in my life that a lot of females are stronger at or are encouraged to express themselves emotionally and verbally. Mm-hmm. Right? It's more socially accepted when a female actually talks their problems out or expresses themselves through tears, crying, screaming, or anything like that. It's more of, hey, just let her express herself. Now, that's not true for everybody. It's not true for all over the planet. I'm talking about from what I've seen. But based on how I grew up, if you was a dude going out there crying and screaming and all that, you were ostracized pretty bad. And so, honestly, you'd be surprised the things that you learn from how you're treated by everyone, not just how you were raised in your house, but how you're treated on this planet. And so I just challenge a lot of dudes out there, man. It's a lot of things that we got pent up. And I'm going to tell y'all a little something before we go to break, man, because we're going to get to our next subject. Emotions. The mindset of men on this, in our community, especially black men. We can't keep pretending we ain't saying what we saying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know ignorance is bliss. That's what you think. Ignorance is just a little ticking time bomb, though, man. Just seriously. So it's one thing about, hey, you know what? I can't keep concentrating on all this negativity. I need to live my life. I need to do this. And I agree with you 100%. You can't just think about things negatively 100% of the time. You will never, ever enjoy life.
But you can't block it out to the point that you become unaware of what's being done to you.
You can't get so caught up in your house looking so pretty and looking so cool and nice that you're going to ignore the gas leak you clearly can smell. Mm-hmm. Because what's going to happen to your house if you just keep ignoring the dangers that's surrounding it, dude? Honestly, it's just about that time, man. So what I'll do is my contribution to our community, man, I'll hold myself accountable. I'll try my best to, at least be honest with my feelings as much as humanly possible. And, we can't just let everybody know what you're thinking all the time. But,
you can't.
Right. Because some people will use it against you, but I would ask everybody to find the people that you trust, find the people that will listen to you and not think you crazy, and you need to talk to them. Talk to them, get it out, cry it out, do what you got to do to make it in this world, because your mindset is your responsibility. Big Dale, you going to take us to a break?
Oh, yeah, man. This has been another topic. Well, the first topic on Manhood Mindset on 91.9 The Buzz. We got So Fresh, So Clean. Once again, another Outkast track.
Respect the dungeon, ladies and gentlemen.
Respect the dungeon family.
The dungeon family. Thank you so much.
ATL, you already know what it is. All right, we finna go to the break. We'll be right back with our next topic. Manhood Mindset on WVGS 91.9 The Buzz.
Say the zoo.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Manhood Mindset on 91.9 The Buzz. I'm Dale from Riverdale, and we're going to bring it right back on into our next topic, shall we?
Man, that was electric. That's just, if you don't really appreciate that intro, man, it's just something wrong.
Man, well, that's something I'm telling you, I'm really serious about this radio situation.
Yes, natural.
So serious about it. Our next topic, I'm gonna give a little background about myself.
Right.
I came here as a biology major, actually.
Right.
And I was always defined in high school. I was always defined by my GPA. That's what we're going to talk. Grade point average. I was defined by my GPA. I felt, okay, if I'm under a 3.0, I feel like I'm stupid.
Okay.
I graduated with a 3.3. I went through some things. But I got here to college and I started to fail. And because I put so much of my self-worth and my intelligence on a number, I almost dropped out. I almost quit. After my first semester here, I had a 1.33 GPA. Now, of course, you know I'm a part of the Zany Zoo.
Okay.
My GPA sitting at a 2.95, so don't nobody worry about that. But I overcame and I came up. But I sat there and I got depressed and I got down on myself because I felt like I could not make it in this world as a doctor or whatever. I started equating that with my success.
Right.
And what it was is I was following numbers instead of my purpose.
Right.
And we were talking about it a while back. That was just a little intro into the GPA topic. We're talking about how children and young, the youth in general, are so excited to learn until they enter the grading system.
Yep.
Would you like to elaborate on that?
Well, a lot of times, this is what a lot of people do not understand, and I had to find this out. I just had to realize, not necessarily find it out. We were not born with the GPA.
We sure wasn't.
We just were not born with a GPA. However, with our exposure to the miseducation system, we've been told that the number next to your name will either open or close doors in your entire life. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people say if you want to make it in this world, you need to work on your grades. It was more about grades than learn this. You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Now, and it
wasn't about understanding.
Right.
It's about memorization.
Right. It was about memorization. And not only that, it was about just performance, not necessarily growth. So you can perform really well in different scenarios, but that does not mean you're developing as a person. You know what I'm saying? And I see a lot of people, and me included, because I went through a similar situation in undergrad. I was kicked out of undergrad for grades or whatnot, and I had to realize exactly who I was before I can actually approach this thing we call school. You know what I mean? And one thing I had to realize is school is the sport associated with your education. What do I mean? And I'm going to ask you this, man. What do you think the purpose of points are in a sport?
In order to keep score, basically pit one team against the other in some form of competition.
Right. And to me, a score and points are used to determine things, to make decisions.
Okay.
And usually points determine the winner and the loser.
Okay.
And after somebody determines a winner and a loser, they tell them where to go.
Wow.
I'm just being real with you. Because after a while, if your GPA or if your money get low or this, that, and other, people start trying to determine where you should go. Mm-hmm. And that's how our society is. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I just had to realize that in many cases, the school system is basically a funnel system to how our society works by attributing numbers to people's worth. You know what I mean? That's why you got a lot of people, and we just using GPA as an example, but look at all the rest of the categories that we measure success in our life. We're talking about finances. Some people think about how many people you slept with. They look at numbers with that to measure their manhood or their womanhood. You know what I mean?
Or lack thereof.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Or use that, hey, I didn't have this many, so that means I'm better than you. You know what I'm saying? So,
or I'm not as good as you.
Right. So anytime when you apply a number system and you make that number system determine
your worth,
we're playing the dangerous game. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's why you have a lot of people, and I'm not going to lie to you, when I was running the mentoring program, I saw a lot of people with 4.0s depressed. And I was like, hold up. you know what I'm saying?
I've been dying to get there.
Yeah, I'm sitting up here, I'm like, wow, are you depressed? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not naive enough to think your GPA is basically reflective of all levels in your life. Because you can have a 4.0 and still have a drug abuse problem or in a domestic abuse situation, or you know what I'm saying? Things
smart
can happen.
Smart kids who smoke weed, honor roll.
Right. Enjoy the world. But we look at situations where people with 4.0s are terrified of losing the 4.0 because of how they will either be treated or how they will be looked upon.
I was there.
Or out of the fear of not being accepted by the people that, open doors for them to get here in the first place. Because they think a certain number means their worth.
And they're afraid to fall out of that group. Have you noticed that? Okay, for example, this is what happened in my school. The smart kids, the average kids, and the kids who struggled were separated.
Right.
I done said my name so many times, but I'm not gonna plug the high school.
Enjoy.
We were all in the intelligent kids, 3.0 or above. We're all in the T building, the technology building, with the fancy classrooms, with the smart boards. Basically, we had the best of the materials, the new books, all of that stuff. And I didn't peep game until I was like older. I was here.
It looks like y'all was supposed to be integrated.
Yeah. And I noticed that, okay, after that, the 2.5 students to just about 3.0, they were either in the B building or in the trailers. Everybody else was either in C hall, which was ducked off.
Yep.
Or they were in A hall, which was the deep inside of the school, which was close to the administration office.
Right.
And I was just like, wow. Like they really do separate you by your ability. And I'm saying all this to say that creates that fear. I'm going to tell you why it creates that fear. My opinion of it, my perception of it.
Do you think?
Okay, if you spent your entirety of your life, of your survival in the institution of school with the smart kids, you know how smart kids interact in the classroom. You know how to behave socially in the classroom. If you raise your hand as a smart kid, I don't understand that. I would like to know that better. You're not.
Great job, Jimmy.
Yes, you want to learn. I love teaching you all.
Right.
But you go down there into the C building with the students who are too frustrated with their life, because I'm not going to say that they don't have the capabilities, because that's not true. But they're too frustrated with what they're dealing at home to pay attention.
Distractions.
And it's showing in their work
or
whatever. And you go down there and you be like, but I really want to learn this. You get ridiculed. But what they don't understand is you're getting ridiculed because you have a luxury that they don't have.
And you know what, man? You know what I think of when you just said that? I think of, how people run track straight away? They sprint. Think about somebody doing hurdles, and the next person next to them they have to compete with don't have to use hurdles, or don't have to have the hurdles on their trail or whatever.
They just running straight.
They just running straight. However, people judge them on how they finish the race, but people don't take into account the hurdles that people have to go through.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of people don't understand. School thing, anything dealing with a point system is a sport.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. And honestly, people are playing with people's access to resources, to wealth, to different opportunities, man. It gets really deep. So when we start talking about GPA, a lot of people are really going to have to dig deep and find out exactly who they are as people before they misinterpret what a GPA really is. Because if a lot of people don't understand who they are, they will allow the GPA to define them. And that's how some people will make rash decisions based off their perceived self-worth because of the GPA that's attached to their name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, I want to read excerpt from a student. Sometimes we go around and ask students about different topics and what they feel, and sometimes they'll sit down and write some things out. So we have a student here at Georgia Southern. His name is Alan. He said a GPA shouldn't determine what you are on this earth to be. A lot of times it's just a way for people to feel good about themselves. One grade or statistic shouldn't guide the way or shape your life. Don't let others live or shape who you are. You probably won't be happy if you do that. If you weren't born with a GPA, why should it shape you? Knowing the difference between different love reveals a lot about who you are. Life isn't fair, but it shouldn't make you become something that you are not. You see what I'm saying? And I think that was very, very powerful. One of the things he said is it may not be fair, but it shouldn't be allowed to determine or force you to be something that you're not. You see what I'm saying? Like, a lot of us are born in different situations, right? A lot of us we don't choose our parents. At all. We don't choose our environment to get born into. That's something that you cannot control. And one of the things that helped my self-esteem and my mindset is to find out the things that I absolutely have no power over. I didn't choose my gender. I didn't choose my race. I didn't choose the neighborhood I grew up in. There's a lot of things I did not choose. However, it was my responsibility to find out who I am. You know what I mean? And
how to navigate with the cars.
Right. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. See, and one thing about, it's a difference between excuses and facts. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you're spitting facts about your situation, some people will love to say, well, that's just an excuse. We're not looking for anybody to excuse us, but we just can't sit up here and act like everybody got it. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Yeah. Okay, you know what I mean? If they're like I told you before, when I heard Dick Gregory speak, he asked, why is there such thing as a good school and a bad school, and why is that heavily tolerated in one of the most richest countries on the planet? You know, okay. And what I thought about when he said that, I said, well, somebody must be benefiting from a school to be bad, because you can't have a good school without having bad schools. That'll be called schools. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that need to compete, that sport, that race, because honestly, we all know that race is not biological. It's just based off how you perceive by the color of your skin. Mm-hmm. It's not biological, and we're looking at it. That's a competition. That's just another competition, man. And if we don't understand it, if we don't understand what we're dealing with when we talk about the isms in the world, the racism, the classisms, all the different things that affect how people interact with each other, we'll always be behind, you know, in the developmental game, man, for real. And so one thing we have to do, especially when we start talking about mindset, your mindset is your responsibility, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I'm finding out for myself. You know what I mean? I can't make anybody else believe that. I just know, just growing up in my life, a lot of detrimental things I've gone through, and I've seen people go through horrible stuff. I'm talking about to the point where I just sit back, and it's people half my age. Like it's people who 10, 11, 12 years old, just going through the most devastating, like losing both of their parents in the same day. Yeah. I didn't have to go through that. Some people being molested, some people being raped, some people being just assaulted on a daily basis. I didn't have to go through that. I mean, yeah. I got picked on, but physically, to go to a place where you cannot even protect yourself on a daily basis, you can't tell me that did not affect your mindset and how you think about yourself and how you think about people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I just know when we, you know, being grown-ups, man, we are reflections of our childhood, man. If we don't revisit some of that stuff, we send ourselves up for failure. What you think?
I mean, I totally agree. One thing that I noticed about myself is I put a reflection on intellect. Right. How I look, I catch myself, and because I grew up as an honor student, so coming to this school was a shock, because basically an honor student in Clayton County is a regular student everywhere else. Just being real. Okay. And
I respect you saying that. I respect it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because
something just happened. Everybody was funny. Something just happened.
Okay, all
right. You got to laugh through it.
Your reaction was okay.
No, it was. I was violated.
Okay.
It was weird.
So this is what I learned about myself, you know, as far as revisiting childhood. And the reason why I went into that deep depression of, you know, not being able to succeed in school, I used to sit there and make myself feel better because I felt more intelligent than those around me. And I was like, oh, you know, I'm one of the smart kids. You know, I understand, you know, so I could do this real quick or whatever. Until I got in that biology class, and I'm sitting there like, I don't know this. Yeah. And now I'm in the seat of which I used to mock.
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, I've never heard of this before in my life.
Exactly.
And then the teacher's like, you should have learned about this in the 6th grade.
That's a lonely feeling when the teacher said, you should have learned this. I was like, well, I didn't control the classroom.
I didn't.
You know, I wouldn't pay attention.
You know, I had to ask to go to the bathroom.
Yeah. Your facial expression was there.
Like, you know, that's, you know, so excuse me if I enjoy walking out of your classroom periodically.
Right.
I just feel free.
Right.
I pay you, remember that now.
Right.
But it's just like, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like, my mind, it completely messed me up because it's like I sit there and to this day I find myself, you don't understand that? Wow, you're an idiot.
Right.
And you just sit, and it's like it makes you prejudge people if you've ever had the privilege of being in a higher ranking norm. You know what I'm saying? If you've ever been, for whatever the reason, whether it's sports, I'm gonna do sports because everybody, I've talked about it from the intellect aspect. Let's say you play football. You one of the leading rushers, passers, whatever. You get the most sacks. I was in there. Yeah. So it's like you get the
Daddy fat sacks. I get
Daddy fat sacks.
Yeah, that was it.
That's funny.
Okay.
But anyway, so you're at the top of your game. So when someone else isn't performing well, you sitting there like, what is their problem? How do they not understand the play? Why can't they get to where the ball is? Why can't they find the action and pursue it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just speaking a different language for those who don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to reach everybody.
Right.
You sit there and you get in the mindset of downplaying other people because they don't walk through life the same way that you do. And that's where I said all that to say, to explain to some listeners who just didn't catch your message the way you sent it off, that, like you said, revisiting certain things, not only just negative things, but stuff that made you feel good, that also could have made other people feel bad.
Exactly.
Because you can sit there and be like, well, it made me feel great. There's nothing wrong with it.
Exactly.
And you sit there and it's reinforced negative things that has hurt you spiritually as a person.
Right.
Does that make sense?
I'm telling you, bro. Yeah, like, because sometimes if you experience, just like you just said, if you experience something that made you feel good, sometimes that's trauma to another person.
Yeah.
You understand? Like, say for instance, if you get awarded a hat or a baseball bat or something like that for doing something really, really well, just like we talked about integration, you have no idea what meaning people are putting to those items.
Okay.
Or what meaning are people putting to that situation, you being awarded, right? So say, for instance, if they're used to winning all the time and they didn't win. Now that's one of the most traumatic things that they could ever go through is not winning that day. And especially if they put you in a certain category, they may think they are nothing. If they look down upon you and you won on top instead of them, some people take that harder than anything else. And you would think it may not be that bad just sharing that spotlight. But some people take it and they tank out with it. You know what I mean?
I understand. Exactly,
you know, so one thing, you know, it's just one thing the person can live through. It can be very, very beneficial. Another person, it can make them check out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, one thing also too, before we go to a break, what we really want to talk about as well, and especially a lot of the kids in the surrounding counties or whatnot, how do you think about yourself when you're constantly being written up and kicked out of the classroom? And what does that do to your mindset about who you are as a person, who you are as a student, and how do you feel in that on those four walls called your school? You know what I mean? Because a lot of us, a lot of people, and let's be real with this thing, a lot of kids are very energetic. A lot of kids act like kids, but there are a certain demographic, and I ain't gonna tiptoe around it. A lot of black males are written up and kicked out of classrooms for doing the exact same thing. And so sometimes we like to act like we have no idea why Jamal don't want to go to class or why Jamal doesn't want to go to school. Well, maybe because those hurdles in the hallway, he's tired of them. You know what I mean? Like you really, it's like sometimes when you just want to learn and you have distractions, it's hard for everybody to learn what they're supposed to learn if they're distracted. And it's one thing having to conquer your curriculum, but if you have to conquer racial discrimination, if you have to conquer prejudice, if you have to conquer bigotry, if you have to just conquer ignorance on a daily basis.
I can't
learn the 4 method. if I know Mr. Like, you know what I'm saying? I really can't learn that stuff if I have to find a new way not to get kicked out of school today. Mm-hmm. And I know it's the first thing, you know, I got friends with a lot of educators, right? And I probably got some educators listening right now. A lot of good teachers, right? Well, you don't understand how these kids are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
These kids are off the chain, you know what I mean? And I put like this, man. Look, I get it. There are certain kids that act out, and there's certain kids that are disrespectful, and you guys handle it the best way you can to make sure everybody comes out on top, right? But let's be real. You have some students that, just like you said earlier, you remember you mentioned earlier about their teachers just looked at you and was like, every time you do something, they just specifically take it a certain way. Mm-hmm. I remember a time when I was in school, man, but people don't understand, my childhood was extremely stressful. So any time where I can get a laugh in at any given time, it was a great day.
Yeah.
I had to create my laughter, bro. Like, for real. Life got so rough that I said, you know what? I got to laugh before 12 today. Like, I had to schedule them. It was almost like a pill. Like, you know what I'm saying? I can't. I said, it's 1:15. I'm late. I almost missed my laughter for the day. But I did have certain teachers that took my laughter as a sign of disrespect. Oh, my God. And it took a really hard conversation with one of my teachers to let her know that my laughter has nothing to do with your teaching ability. It has nothing to do with my respect level for you. You have no idea what I have to go through and what I've seen. And the people, and honestly too, sometimes it had nothing to do with me. It was people around me that was hurting. That's going to affect you.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you lost friends, or if you know a friend of yours, their parent is going through something, or if they lost a sibling or something like that, kids come in and they're going to be heavily affected.
Or you come home and your mama crying and she got a black eye and you don't know why and she won't talk to you.
Exactly. And so it's hard to understand what that is. And some kids are going to find happiness if they don't have any candy today. They're going to go outside and they're like, when I go to the playground today, I'm going to throw a rock as far as I can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if that teacher saw you do that, they can write, you know, they'll say, well, you're acting out of turn or whatever. You just don't know. So a lot of kids, we need to really talk about how you're treated in the schools. And, you know, and it's not necessarily blaming teachers, but I've lived through it. You've lived through it.
Definitely.
I'm looking at students live through it. I talk to administrators on a daily basis saying that they're writing these kids up for being kids. It's people who are writing up young black males for standing up. Like, seriously. Yeah. They're walking them to the the assistant principal's office for speaking out of turn, or he wasn't walking fast enough in the line, things of that nature.
Oh my God!
And so what a lot of people don't understand, that school to prison pipeline is not a mistake. That's not something that just happens. It's not just Wednesday. It just comes it comes once a week. That's not a normal thing. You just don't have all those write-ups with one demographic, and it's just a circumstance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly.
So a lot of people, we really got to talk about it, man. We're gonna go into this next break, and we're gonna talk about the stuff that matter, man. 91.9 The Buzz, man. Dale, take us out, bro.
You already know what it is. We're gonna come in with a little bit of big crit.
Ah, man. Yeah. All right, we back, and we happen to be black. 91.9 The Buzz. We're located in Statesboro, GA, number 91.9 The Buzz, man. We're on Manhood Mindset and the Zeta Delta chapter of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, man. This is the Brother You On My Mind and Stop the Violence initiative for the fraternity right now. We appreciate everybody's support. This is our attempt to actually help people when it comes down to mental health and understanding the things that are going on in our society that affect the way we think, man. So we actually want to talk about these things. We're recording the show. We're going to actually put them up on like YouTube pages, and we're on Ustream right now. If you go to Ustream right now, if you're not around the radio, if you want to tell people to go to Ustream.com and then type in 919 Power of Perception. We're on live on a Ustream right now. So if you want to share that with people, you can definitely do that. Also, too, if you are an administrator or a teacher, or if you work at a local school, every Thursday from 7 to 9, we're going to ask you to allow or just help spread the news to your students that can actually benefit from the information that we're sharing with them. Just ask them to tune in. And this is what we're going to do for the kids. We're actually going to do like a specific giveaway. We may even do a scholarship, but we want to help kids enter into an essay contest, because that's one of our mandated programs in the fraternity. They can actually put in an essay about what did they learn from the show with Manhood Mindset. So we're trying to give back to the community, and if the kids participate and they say some good things that can help other kids, we're going to highlight that kid. You know what I mean? Because this is what the bros do. You feel me? So thank you to everyone who's participating. Shout out to everybody at Georgia Southern for all the love and support. Just a shameless plug. The reason why we're doing this as well is the zoo has had quite of a good run in 2016, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
We just recently won International Social Action Chapter of the Year for the bros down here at the zoo as Zeta Delta Delta. And I had the honor and privilege of winning International Advisor of the Year. And so right now we know that to whom much is given, much is required. So this is not celebratory, it's mandatory right about now. You know what I mean? So if you got some people just listening to the show, please encourage the youth to listen. It doesn't matter where you're at. We're live streaming right now on Ustream, and we're broadcasting live from Statesboro, GA. I think we can reach all the way down to Metter and Pooler, I think. Is that correct?
That is correct. For all the bros listening, insert vivacious barking.
Exactly. We're going to get really stupid because we do have Atomic Dog coming up. Alrighty. Just do that. All right, man. We got an email from a GSU alumni, JB, one of my great homeboys, man. Shout out to College Park. He all the way from College Park, Georgia, man. DJ JB, man. A really good friend of mine, man. Went to undergrad with me. And we saw a lot of the same things. He actually just emailed and he said, man, this is an interesting show with the GPA. He said, I was that honor student too. Growing up, mom treated C's like F's, so the pressure was on. When I got to GSU, I got my first F, not on purpose, of course, but it was like a huge relief just to think about it, just to understand that all of these grades are not meant for me to, you know what I'm saying, determine my self-worth off of them. You know what I mean? If you get a different grade, it's not meant for you to think of yourself in a different way. So shout out to JB, man. Thank you for listening to the show. Keep listening, man. And the beer on you, root beer, of course. Root beer's on you. Everybody knows what it is. There's some tailgaters too. See y'all at the Atlanta tailgate too as well, man. So what you think about that, Dale? Having those expectations from your parents and being that honor student, what do you got to say about that?
Oh, I lived it. You know, I'm a multimedia communications major now. I started off with biology, and I ended up adding 2 extra years to my education here at Georgia Southern. I'm grateful for my experience because it shaped me as a person, but at the same time, as a parent, I'm gonna step this out because now I'm a parent. You have to be careful how you speak to your children, because although you think you're uplifting them,
right,
you can be killing them inside, right, or presenting a different message than what you're trying to actually get across,
right,
because you're so worried about their future. You're looking at them as, okay, this is what the world needs right now, or this is how to be successful in the world, but you're killing their soul.
Right.
And the experience that I can relate to that, because my mother was the same way. Not because she drilled it into me, but I set the standard so high for myself. I never made anything less than an A, you know, up until my senior year, you know, I was struggling with chemistry.
Right.
But never made anything lower than a B, period.
Right.
Came off to college, and I failed every single class I had my first semester except for like 2. I was taking like 6.
Right.
And I failed 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother just well, maybe college isn't for you. Maybe you're going to drive a truck like your father. You know, maybe it's just, I don't understand, Dale. What, were you down there partying? And I'm like, Mom went to class every day. I just don't believe it. I just do not believe that you went to class every single day. And I had my teachers call her.
Right.
And she was just like, whoa. And I ended up pulling my grades and stuff back up. I didn't know how to study. But I sat there and I said, well, maybe my lack of understanding comes because my heart is not really in this. I'm doing it for the money.
Right.
Not, you know, that's what my mom and dad pushed, you know, as far as financial stability, because all they knew was struggling financially.
Right.
So it wasn't the fact that my mother saw that I wasn't going to be worth anything to her if I wasn't a doctor, if I wasn't making money. That's not how she feels.
Right, right.
But she was so afraid of me struggling that she'll be like, well, well, mom, I want to go into radio. Well, they don't make a lot of money, or you have to be really, really good. You're kind of shy. I was at one time.
Right.
You're kind of shy. You don't really like talking in front of people. Maybe that's something your brother could do, but you could never do that.
Right.
You need to stick to being a doctor. And it got to the point where I would express, well, mom, I went out today and I told jokes and I did good.
Yeah.
And she would be like, yeah, but it's probably best that if you stay with what you're doing. And it got me to the point where I was feeling, even though it wasn't her intention, I had to pull her to the side. And I was like, Mom, you made me feel like if I'm not a doctor, then I'm nothing to you. Like, I'm just... If I don't go this route, then it's just like I'm dead to you and the rest of the world.
Wow.
And she was like, no, that's just your own perception of it. So you know what I started doing? I started recording her when she would talk to me. And then I played it back to her, and she ended up crying, and she was like, I'm so sorry. She said, I literally broke your spirit every time you would come to me and be like, Mom, I think I'm good at this. And she would be like, yeah, but not good enough to actually survive. So it's like I totally relate to the like the failure and the C's and stuff like that. Because when I started getting those C's or whatever, she was like, "Oh my goodness, you're turning into one of those kids," which will probably lead into what you're getting ready to talk about. One of those kids, you mean a normal human being who doesn't understand something? And I started to relate to what my peers were going through. Like, hey, I'm no longer a human being because I don't understand something. Jesus, like, wow, like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I will say this: when you find your purpose, the grades will come. Exactly. I switched over to mass communications. Exactly. My first semester switching over to a major that I actually found joy in my heart in. I made the president's list. Man,
bro, I applaud you, bro. Because a lot of people go through what you just went through or what you just shared with us, and a lot of people put a lot of meaning behind the words that parents use. Some people, the world can call you anything but a child of God, and it can go off your shoulders. But Mom Dukes say the slightest thing, it could literally rip your soul out your chest. You know what I mean? And so a lot of people. Out in today's world, in our community, man, sometimes the people that you have the most love for can use words to hurt you unintentionally. You know what I mean? And they don't necessarily have intent to ruin your day or ruin your spirit. Sometimes the people raise you with the pain they were exposed to. And some people raise people based off fear a lot. I know a lot of people grew up and a lot of their parents might have said, well, my child ain't going to go through this. And, sometimes you be like, well, I know you love me, but it's so much fear behind what you're telling me. It's kind of impossible for me to grow and actually go out there and try to make something of myself. Sometimes you can be so scared of failing that you forget to live. And I'm not going to lie to you, man. A lot of students, especially people that I grew up with, a lot of black people, man, a lot of us either wanted to be just like someone or the exact opposite. You either wanted to be just like a person or you wanted to be exactly the opposite of the person that you had to see. And what a lot of people don't understand, anytime you're just like someone or you're exactly the opposite of that person, you're still not being yourself. You can still get all these accolades in the world. And you can say, well, I didn't end up like so-and-so. Or, he got a degree, so I got me one too, so I must have made it. If you base your life off of another life, you really don't have a life. Your life is given to you, man. And none of these human beings on the face of this planet can tell you what to do with your life. The only person that can tell you what your life is about is your creator, man. For real. And a lot of people don't understand that. Whatever you make your God on this planet, and a lot of people a lot of times we just don't understand that idol worship is real, and sometimes when you make something your God in your life, you can get really disappointed, man. I remember a pastor told me one time, man, he said a lot of depression stems from disappointment from a false God. And I was like, at first, younger, I didn't understand what he was talking about. But think about it. All the things you gave your life to crumble, pun intended. All the things you gave your life to, some of the things that you just put so much effort in because you thought that was going to sustain you. You thought the acceptance of these people was going to validate your life or you being born in the first place. And then you make a mistake and find out that some of these people did not ever rock with you. You can go into such a deep depression that you may not want to live anymore. And if you're not careful, man, by putting this false expectation on other people, it will take you out. That's the reason why your mindset is your responsibility. Black men, your mindset, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man, it's not easy. We don't have a lot of excuses, but I ain't gonna lie to you. The playing field is not even, and we're not complaining because we see what the deal is. It's not a complaint. It's basically we telling you what the weather is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not complaining if I tell you it's raining tomorrow. I'm just telling you it's raining. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And being a black male, you can't just be in the society and just turn a blind eye to being a black male in a society that's really dominated by white supremacy. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not just blaming everything on racism, but you can't tell me that it don't exist. And you're going to have to tell me what part of my life that racism has no effect on. Absolutely no effect on at all. And, I'm not looking for it to be an excuse. Excuses don't do anything for us. It builds tools of incompetence all the time. And people don't never, ever benefit from it. Yeah, that was, bro. So, bros already know. Yeah. But think about it. You can't wallow in any excuses, but facts is facts. You know what I mean? And fellas, I'm going to be real with you, man. When we get to talking with each other, us trying to be real tough in front of each other, man, I'm telling you, it's getting to the point now. It is so counterproductive not to be in tune with what you're seeing on this planet and what you're seeing in our society and how it affects you. Ignorance ain't bliss, bro. Not for us. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Ignorance is probably bliss if it don't. If the horrible stuff that's being displayed don't affect you. Mm-hmm. But if you're in the middle of a war zone and if you're in the middle of being mistreated, you can't just turn a blind eye. It's just your third eye need to be on point, bro. For real, you need to really find out where your spirituality come from, who your God is, who you plan on serving for the remainder of your life. Cause I ain't gonna lie to you, if you ain't believing in God now, you will. Oh yeah. To me, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to push God on nobody, but you don't have to push air on nobody. Air is here. You ain't got to push land on nobody. Land is here. You don't have to push the sunlight on nobody. It's here. You know what I'm saying? We surrounded by God, man. So ain't nobody got to push God on you, but you will recognize, you will acknowledge, bro, for real. And that's something I had to realize too, because if you think about fighting this stuff on your own, your mindset, my mindset would have crushed. And I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I don't have the luxury to think I can make it out in this world without a higher power. I just don't. I mean, that's just me. Mm-hmm. No one has to agree with it. I don't care because I'm the one that has to sleep at night. But I know for a fact, bro, that whoever created me knows exactly what I was put on this earth for. And it's my job to find out what it is and respect it as much as I humanly can, and help people along the way. And your mindset is going to either make or break your entire experience on this planet. How you look at your situations will make or break them. If you choose to look at things negative, they will be negative. But that doesn't mean that you're supposed to ignore the negative things that meant to break you. You can't keep ignoring something. Like if you walk down the street and somebody's throwing baseballs at your head, you can't just be like, I ain't gonna let that get me down. You might, you see what I'm saying? You can't just keep ignoring that because after a while, man, that concussion is gonna add up. And them baseballs are constantly hitting you in the back of your head, bro. And you acting tough and acting like this stuff ain't happening. Only thing you're doing is accruing damage to yourself, trying to be tough and acting like you got everything together. So I ain't gonna lie to you. In order for us to get our mindset together, man, we really gonna have to lean on each other. We're gonna have to lean on our women. We're gonna have to, honestly, some of us gonna have to lean on our children. And it's weird because this ain't got no. It ain't no rules to surviving. You better survive, man. Because I ain't gonna lie to you. Some of the children that you encounter, I promise you, Some of these children that's going around, they're not stupid. They got eyes just like you. And some of these children are way stronger spiritually than you can ever imagine. And so instead of assuming that children just don't know or they naive because they're young, some of them got more responsibility than half of the grown people I done seen. So you'd be surprised, man. Talk to the children about what they see. See what they say, because a child can say some stuff to you, and I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I've seen a lot of young people who are more spiritually in tune with God, bro. For real. And they'll tell you some real stuff, and you be like, hold up, you 7? You ever had a young person say something to you, and you be like, hold up, how old are you? And then,
Yeah, you be like, I do believe that, honestly, this may be a little bit off topic, but it goes with what you're saying. My mom always told me that God, when it comes to children, they got the purest hearts and the purest souls because they haven't been contaminated by the world yet.
They haven't been too miseducated yet.
Yeah, and sometimes God will use them. Mm-hmm. They will speak through them.
Oh, yeah.
He will speak through them in order to touch you, because you'll be like, wow, that was so profound. There's no way you have the intellect to be able to communicate that it has to have come from somewhere else.
Exactly.
Sometimes God will use people and children to catch your attention, but you definitely do got to lean on the children. Sometimes I lean on my son, and as I blow raspberries into his belly,
that's hilarious.
I feel joy when I'm depressed by the world.
What's the facial expression of Abe when you I used to call them Zerbers. That's how old I am. Zerbers. Yeah, 80s babies know what that is. Just let's continue.
Okay. Like what?
Like Zerber. That's the old Bill Cosby term, man. On the Cosby show, you like, you give me a Zerber. I used to do that at Rudy all the time, man. Let's move on before it get uncomfortable.
Yeah, but yeah. But that's what I would do, man, in order to, like, when I had a real bad day and you just don't feel nothing positive from anywhere else, and you sit there and you play with your child, and of different ages or whatever, maybe your child may be a teenager and they not messing with you too tough, but especially like if you have a younger child, like I could sit there and I could be like, hey, Daddy love you so much, boy. And you could just pour that that hurt or whatever. You could sit there and transform and find motivation. I'll be like, man, I don't even want to do this no more.
Right.
And then I'm sitting there looking at my son, and I'll be like, man. And he'll look at me, and he'll be like, and then he'll look at me, and then he'll smile like, that was cute.
Yeah.
You can't be mad no more.
Can't be mad no more.
No more. Dad, one time I'm going to tell you this, and this is the last thing I'm going to say about it. One time, my son looked me in my eyes because he knew my feelings were hurt about something. Mm-hmm. He looked me in my eyes, and I put him on my shoulder because I had to burp him, and he snuggled into my neck and gave me a kiss on my cheek.
That's tight.
And I was like... It wasn't no slobbery kiss or nothing. He was just
just knew.
There.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Man, babies just left God, bro. They know the deal.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just look at a baby and be like, welcome to Earth, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't really know why I did it.
Hey, you be like, welcome to Earth, man. It's, I'm going to try not to mess you up real bad. But just there's ice cream here.
Yeah.
You just gotta let them know, man. So honestly, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you do what you need to do to keep your mindset straight. Some of the things that we talked about today, man, make sure that when we talk to the people that we love, when they say detrimental things to you, and it does not have to be on purpose. What Dale said earlier, he had to let his significant parent know. He needs to, you have to educate people. And after a while, when you become grown and when things are said to you that actually hurt, now it's up to you to teach the people how to love you, man. Because I know when you were a kid, when you were young, anytime when you try to explain yourself to a grown person, people thought it was you talking back. But at the end of the day, man, when you're grown and when people are doing something that's like snatching your spirit and ruining your mindset, it is now your responsibility to teach people how to love you. And then when you give them that information, if they choose not to do it, now you know what category to put them in, man. So your mindset is your responsibility. You make sure you love yourself, man, because if you don't love yourself, the world will teach you how to love it.
Oh, wow.
If you do not love yourself, the world will teach you how to love it. And if you go around trying to love the world, man, the world will disappoint you. And that disappointment causes depression. And that depression causes stress. And that stress causes all type of things to your body, man. So from here down at the Zany Zoo, man, down here in Statesboro, Georgia, we want to just make sure that we really, really tell you that, brother, you on our mind, man, for real.
Oh, indeed.
You're on our mind. And basically when we start talking about stop the violence, which is, some of the top initiatives of the frat, we're really trying to make sure that we make our contribution to the health of our community by any means necessary. So if that means we need to talk about situations that's uncomfortable, if we have to be unapologetic by the things that are killing us, by the things that are ripping our souls apart, we're going to have to do it. We're going to have to man up. And we're gonna have to control our mindset. It's our responsibility. And ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for listening. We about to come to the end of the show. We got some more things that's in store for you, but make sure that you email ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com. Again, that's ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com. I think you can follow us on Instagram at ZooQs_1986. On Instagram, Zoo_Qs1986 on Instagram. All right, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, Big Chris Joker. You can go on YouTube, ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com. We're going to be posting this on YouTube as well. We'll be posting it on Facebook, Instagram, and all of that so that people can enjoy. Make sure you spread the word. Dale from Riverdale, how did you enjoy the show, man?
I love the show.
What did you get out the show?
I just like being able to express, and honestly, I'm trying to open up to people. So it's like a lot of people who look at my lifestyle and certain stuff like that. They don't realize that they look at me and they see where I'm at, but they don't know what I came from.
Right.
So it's like I've had some really tough things happen to me in my life.
Right.
But I've overcome things.
Right.
Like, I mean, for some of y'all who don't know, my dad died on finals week. But I ain't failed none of my finals.
Wow.
So it's just like these people, and that's not a bragging situation. It's more fact. On like, hey, you don't know how strong you are until you give yourself credit.
Yeah, man.
On what you've been through. Sometimes you be like, man, I just can't do this. I just can't do this. Think back on a situation where it was like, you didn't know what you're going to do. And then remember, there was a situation that you were in.
Exactly, yeah. Man. So also too, man, and I mean, honestly, what I get out of the show is just a positive environment. You'd be surprised what people have to go through on a daily basis. This world is what it is, man. And so if you don't have a lot of spaces where you can go, where you can feel accepted, when you can feel a part of something, it is your job to create it. Don't sit back and say the world ain't fair, because fairness ain't never existed in my book. So you're going to have to create your space. Do your thing, create your space, take control of your mindset. Let's be man about it, man. For real, man. We love y'all so much, man. We really appreciate it. ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com. Also, anything that we got coming up with the chapter. Also, if you are interested, if you have a young lady on the GSU's campus, if you would like to participate in our scholarship pageant, you need to email ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com if you're interested. Scholarship pageant, I think it's up to like $1,000 scholarship pageant. Yes, it's about $1,000. So I know people out there can use $1,000. If you or anybody that you know, a young lady at Georgia Southern University, must be a student at Georgia Southern, if you would like to participate in the pageant, please email ZetaDeltaDelta@gmail.com, and then we'll give you more information, email you out a packet, and we'll just move on from there. We thank y'all so much for tuning in, man. We love y'all to death. Got more things coming up. Make sure you follow us, man. We love y'all, for real. Dale, you want to take us out?
Yes. You just finished listening to Manhood Mindset on 91.9 The Buzz.
Don't let them break you. Root.